nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. You ain't seen nobody like this. You ain't seen nobody like this. You hear my sound all over town singing. Whoa. I think there's something in the water. If you wanna take a sip, but be careful what you wish for. The faint of heart can't handle it. Everybody wants a piece of someone else's prize, but it ain't free, it don't come cheap. Only the strongest will survive. You ain't seen nobody like this.
Good evening and welcome to San Antonio Soccer Roundtable. My name is Terry. Joining me tonight, we have a guest, Cody, former Puerto Rican national goalkeeper, former OKC Energy, who I formerly have called Mr. Man Bun for many, many, many years.
Thanks for that.
Second best beard in USL for the longest time.
I'll take it.
For that here, although you could argue on that here. And then Royce and Rafa. Before we really get into the conversation, I'm going to kick it to Rafa to kind of talk about what happened in Liga MX last night, because that, unfortunately is a story that does need to be told and covered. And who better to discuss it than Rafa, who follows Liga MX very closely.
Yeah, last night, like I said, I was kind of channel surfing, watching some of the games, and noticed on that 62-minute that fight breakout there at Querétaro versus Atlas, and just the aftermath of the whole thing is just horrendous. And to see all those people running into the stadium, running from the violence and just total chaos, and to see all those people that basically get beat up to a pulp, to me it was just probably the biggest embarrassment the Liga MX has ever had in their history, and I'm hopeful that the Liga MX president and all the owners really kind of take this more serious as far as not only player safety but also fan safety too. And some of the stadiums have taken measures around the league, but this lack of effort by the police there in Querétaro, and just no urgency to kind of help these people there that are just if you seeing the images, I guess it's just horrific, and there's no excuse to have this, at a game, period. And I think hopefully the fans over there, they've gone through pretty much a lot, especially with FIFA, with the whole chat and so forth. But this is just another black eye, and I'm hopeful, like I said, on Wednesday. I think they've decided what they're going to talk about as far as the safety, what procedures they're going to do as far as with Querétaro, what they're going to do. I did hear some things about that no longer going to play at the stadium, that all activities there is going to be suspended. And as far as playing forward, as far as the players with the Querétaro, that's still up in the air. Some are wanting them to kick them out of the league. They may take the team away from the league and relocate it somewhere else as punishment for what happened. We'll find out more, hopefully, I think on Wednesday, after they have that meeting with the owners and the president, on what's going to occur from this. But just want to send out my prayers all to the people who were affected by it. We're still conflicted. We don't know if there was actual fatalities. Some have reported it, some haven't. It's still kind of mixed. I've been trying to do going through all my sources, like miedotempo.com, To the End, TV Azteca. They've all kind of been conflicting on what's really, as far as who's injuries and fatalities and so forth. But hopefully, more of the truth will come out in these next few days.
Cody, I have a question for you. As a player, and hopefully you've never been in that type of situation for that here, but as a player, how does that impact, if you are playing, for either team, for Atlas or Cutero, can never get the R's rolled, right? But how does that affect, if you are a player, for Cutero, does it make it harder to come back and play wherever that you're playing, or is it just you're so focused on the game?
Yeah, I would say if I was, I've been fortunate to not be in a situation like that, but if it were to occur and then having to again, you talk about your focus. I mean, that's primary, safety and security, and knowing that there's very little barrier between you and the fan. That's unnerving, So I mean, look, everybody's human. Even like the most focused player has got to be, you got to be thinking twice.
Royce, any comments from you on the situation?
It's tragic, and this is something that you may have seen like in the hooligan days back in the 60s, 70s, right. 80s in England, and unfortunately you did see it with a lot of English fans and a lot of Russian fans. Hooligans just went through. I know when the Euros, not the last Euros, but the Euros before that, there was a lot of violence. A lot of Russian fans were, but it was Russian, it was English. I remember that, and both fan groups were admonished for that. But nothing like what you saw, because what the violence that you saw. I can't believe it was yesterday, but yes, the violence you saw yesterday was in the stadium, and it was out of control. There was zero police presence. There were zero authorities. I saw one cop in all the videos that I saw, and I don't want to talk about how many videos I saw. It was stupid, and I shouldn't have done it.
Don't look for the videos.
Don't do it. It's bad. It is the worst of humanity. You think the war and everything going on in Ukraine and Russia is bad? That's the worst of humanity, because you have families there. It's supposed to be a family-friendly environment, and there are people getting the life beaten out of them. But I saw one cop the entire time who was in riot gear, and they were escorting the players off of the field into the locker rooms. That's it. That is the only cop I saw the entire time. There were people that were trying to take control and separate people unsuccessfully. But that's it. There was no police presence, and that's horrific. And that is something that every team, every league can learn from, is you need a police presence if you're
trying to help out
for that.
The control, even the players are trying to control the fans, telling them to settle down, and they wouldn't listen. What the appalling thing is that some of the fans were tearing the stadium apart, making holes and doing trash cans, beating the hell out of other people and stuff. And you saw families in videos running away with their kids, and you
saw families have to take their kids' jerseys off of them because they were afraid they were going to get attacked because they were wearing a certain jersey. That is embarrassing.
There was a story that they helped this one little girl. She took off her Querétaro jersey that was autographed and gave it to an Atlas fan, so the Atlas fan wouldn't get beat up. And they called her a hero about it. And it's like, that shouldn't be happening here. No. One thing I'm going to bring up is FIFA is looking at this too.
They should be, as they should.
And here's the thing: we have the World Cup coming up in 2026 with Mexico, United States, and Canada. This is not a good thing going into that situation, and the FIFA's going to question them to the Mexican Soccer Federation. Can you handle hosting games because after this? And I think Liga MX is really the Mexican Soccer Federation is going to have to step it up to get on FIFA's good graces and not have an incident from here on out until here all the way to
2026.
Yeah.
So they have to really step on eggshells to make sure that it's not, because they're gonna end up losing hosting duties for that World Cup.
Exactly. I mean, you think a middle of the season Querétaro or Atlas at Querétaro game is going to be insane?
Mhm.
Wait until you have a Brazil Argentina final or a Brazil Argentina quarterfinal or England versus Scotland, which would be amazing. I would love to see that. England versus Germany, the ever fun rivalry for different reasons.
I mean,
You think that's going to be bad? You think Atlas at Querétaro is bad. Those are going to be worse, and you need to show that you can control a crowd. Yeah, for sure.
And I'll say this to bring it more locally here. The last playoff game between San Antonio FC and RGV, there was rumors of something that was going to happen. And I think a lot of us felt that SAFC overreacted by moving RGV fans into a completely different area. I think this is a prime example of why they do that.
That's correct. Did they overreact? I have a secondary question for you. Did anything really happen violent? Not really. Did they kick out fans way too early? Maybe, maybe not. But guess what? Nothing happened.
and
So
don't
the only
forget-
thing that did happen was SAFC beat the crap out of RGV on the field 3-1. So that did happen. Those are facts.
the same incident when we went down there to RGV that first year when they opened HEB Park. We're
Yes.
tailgating outside our bus, and we had some hooligans from RGV taunting us, and one of them actually pulled his pants down in front of the cops, and cops was not going to tolerate that, so they sent him packing home. So
Both
Was it
supporters
was
were
it
both
Lauren
taken
Obert's husband?
out of the game, because I remember I went down on the bus, and unfortunately some SAFC supporters did not get to watch the second half. Well, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
So, but that's what's needed is not tolerate stuff like that, and everybody, and I think the safety. I think the SAFC does a good job when it comes to that. But and I think even like I said, MLS does too as well. But Liga MX is they haven't had many incidents like this. Yeah, you have your little scuffles here and there, but nothing like the chaos of what happened last night. And like I said, this is going to be a black eye for a long time, and this may even affect the national team game on the 24th.
Yeah.
Are
they even allowed fans yet? They're not allowed fans, are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if the U.S. national team fans are thinking about going to Mexico City, they may think
Right.
twice.
Yeah.
After seeing that, and it's something that's going to be on the back of their mind about actually going down there, even though the Azteca is securely
Right.
they have a lot of security there. They do a good job, protecting fans and so forth. But still, that's going to always be in the back of your mind. What could happen if there's a miscommunication or something that allows them to get into access to them. So that's something that's going to be talked about in the next few weeks.
As it should.
So, I know we started the show on Wednesday when we did the high school show. Number one, thoughts and prayers to everybody in Ukraine. Like I said here, just like any other show on here, we definitely, anything you can do to help support Ukraine, please do. And then the other major story that happened the afternoon of Wednesday. Unfortunately, the captain of the Stanford women's soccer team, goalkeeper Katie Meyer, passed away. Unfortunately, it was by suicide, and I know that was something that we tried to highlight last year quite a bit. So if, I'm sure all of our DMs are open, or if you need to reach out to somebody, I know you can reach out to me. I'll talk and listen, whatever that you need. Just do, like I said here, such a young talent and unfortunately gone way too soon for that here. So, but after the sad news and disappointing news and upsetting news, Cody, when we set this up, it was supposed to be, hey, let's talk about Cody and your playing career. There's no easy way to transition from that here.
Of course.
But in kind of doing my, my studying a little bit on Cody, I found out that Cody was actually on the bench for my first soccer game here in San Antonio, which was the Scorpions versus the Puerto Rico Islanders.
Yes.
And he unfortunately got the best of San Antonio that night as well. I see a trend happening here with Cody playing San Antonio here, unfortunately here. So
Hey, you guys have had your fair share. I think.
Pablo Campos missed a bunch of PKs.
Yes, that was the Pablo Campos days. I think Daryl Sattler was on the team.
yes, he was the starting goalkeeper.
Wes Knight. I don't know. You know, those names, those faces. That's a throwback because that was at the high school stadium. That's
Heroes, yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that's adjacent to the
Right,
stadium,
mhm.
correct? Yeah,
Correct. Over, I think, 10, 11,000 were there for the first game.
What a great environment! It was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah, I saw that you were on Puerto Rico at that time, and I was like, I wonder if he was on the bench. So I went trying to find, and I found the score sheet for it, but fortunately for you,
Right.
the starter, you weren't subbed in for that here. But so he started there. Then, of course, he spent a year with Fort Lauderdale. Probably the big move was to MLS LA Galaxy 2, where he spent a couple of seasons there. To me, 2015, you went when I looked at the team here with the Austin Aztec just up the road here. That 2015 team, they did beat the Scorpions 2-0 in Open Cup, which looking back here probably is not a surprise because they had Ryan Rochando, Chris Tierpak, Max Gunderson, Kalen Ryden, Mickey Ambrose.
Yep.
You in the goals.
Tony Roca.
How did you guys not make the playoffs? That's my question.
That's a good question. Look, I was I came in there after a year with the Galaxy 2, and I'll be very diplomatic in my response. I was I say promised a fair shot at the starting position, and it wasn't to be. So I sat the bench quite a lot that season, and that was the year that we had tremendously bad weather actually hit Austin, and House Park
got flooded out.
It actually lifted up that turf, which, from being completely honest with you, was terrible. Anyway, and then we played up north in the Round Rock area. But yeah, that team, I'll just again be honest. It was a little bit of paralysis by analysis when it came down to what we're going to do game in and game out, and there wasn't really this feeling of freedom. So it was difficult. Good learning experience, don't get me wrong, but it was definitely difficult. Having said that, some players from that team went on to have very good and still are having very good careers.
And then, of course, you made the trek after that to Oklahoma City Energy, where you ended up your career at. For that here, I know it ended a little shorter than what you were hoping for here. For that here, but to me, I'll never forget the playoffs. Where Oklahoma City came in and advanced on PKs for that here, because I don't think we scored at all. Right? It was so bad.
Well, I was actually out injured with that in that match as
Why
well.
are we reliving these movies?
Well, we got to prep him up. It's
yeah.
He came onto the show. We got to talk him up a little bit.
It doesn't make the wounds hurt any less, but I get it. Cody, you're amazing. We get it.
Thank you. Well, I mean, let's again, the environment that you guys have been able to create in San Antonio is always as an opposing player. It was really exciting to come there, to play in that environment. Obviously, a wonderful stadium. The support that you show your team is second to none, and I mean that genuinely, because you go to some of these environments and it's like, it's like somebody popped the air out of the balloon. It's like, man, how can I get myself amped up when I'm playing in front of 13 people? And then you go play. And then you play, San Antonio on the road, and it's, wow, this is a proper environment. You get people exchanging pleasantries. I'll say that much. As I'm standing there and enjoying a couple adult beverages. But that
would be me.
That's a credit to you. Yeah. You've cultivated the environment. That's a cool place to be. It's like it's a cool ticket to have, if you will, if you're a supporter. And from the opposition standpoint, it's like, man, I'm really excited to go play in front of some pretty intense fans in against a really, really good team, because generally speaking, always formidable. So all things considered, man, you guys got one of the better setups in the league.
So I wanted to bring you on to kind of talk about the role transition from playing career to being an agent.
Yeah.
But I do also want to talk about the goalkeeper union. Rafa's, the goalkeeper coach, specialty. But just kind of how special is that? Especially you and Matt, I think, are fairly close or communicate. You and Diego, I've seen some interactions on and just through there, but kind of talk a little bit about the goalkeeper union and then kind of how small of a circle that really is.
Yeah, of course. Well, it kind of it surrounds the fact that you're an outlier in a team sport. What we do is totally different than the rest of the guys. Add into that you're not a striker who can miss 9 out of 10 and still be considered the hero, right? So the margin of error is very small. So there's a level of empathy that you develop when you go through it, because you understand you're never going to master the craft. You can only hope to get as sharp at it as you possibly can through your work and through your endeavor. The other thing is it's something, and I could speak to this personally. There's no instant gratification with this. I spent 7 years as a backup before I got my first real opportunity to be the starter. So you're busting your butt, for 7 years for the privilege to sit on the bench. And that's something that, while as goalkeepers, you have a longer shelf life in terms of being able to play longer, but that's something that not many people are able to have, that patience and that confidence in themselves, that, I keep doing the right things. I keep stacking good day on top of good day. Things will happen for me. So understanding the mental side of what goes into being a goalkeeper, I think, is what kind of bonds us together. And we understand that, you could be solid for 89 minutes and then one lapse of judgment or one great strike. I mean, you watched LA play Charlotte last night, right? Then they start asking questions. I'm not saying that instance specifically, but then they'll say, "Oh, could the keeper have done better?" Or, so you're always under the microscope, because there's nobody behind you, so that, I think, is what develops the empathy towards your fellow goalkeeper, and kind of what brings us close because of those shared experiences.
Rafa, Royce, do you guys have any questions? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. I was just going to comment. I completely agree. The goalkeeper is the most underrated, and I say this as a kid who I played baseball growing up. I tried baseball in college, that whole thing. So when I played soccer, I would always play with the International Students Union. Play with kids from the Middle East, with kids from Mexico, and just all over. And it was a lot of fun. I was terrible at my feet, so I always play goalkeeper. But it's definitely a position that has the most influence on XG, and that's the big stat around is expected goals. And the goalkeeper is the most underrated stat and all that, because that's the dude that's literally keeping the ball out of the net, and that's the dude who's giving up the goals. So you had, let's give a recent example. You had Leeds United, and I paid most attention to this because it was Jesse Marsh's first game with Leeds United, but they had an over 2 XG, and Leicester had a 0.15 XG. Leicester won 1-0. And why? Because Kasper Schmeichel, or
great saves.
Kasper, right? Yeah, he was the man of the match, easily the man of the match. And at the same rate, you're talking about being under the microscope. Robert Green in 2010 and 2009 had one of the best seasons of all time for any goalkeeper in the Premier League. He has one fumble against Clint
What do you
Dempsey.
remember him for?
Thank God, exactly. And that's what you remember him for, is that little fumble against Clint Dempsey, which thank God it was amazing. And I would not trade that for anything. But at the same time, he was one of the best goalkeepers. He had one of the best seasons of any goalkeeper of the Premier League era. He has one mistake in the World Cup, and it's magnified that much, and that's what everybody knows him by. So, yeah,
Yep.
I completely agree.
Rafa, anything for you?
I mean, goalkeeping is probably the most important position on there because you're a field general. You're commanding the defense. It's like I would tell my keepers, and if they score on you, it's because your defense is not doing a good job defending. If you fumble the ball, or like yesterday, I saw when the ball went through the hand. Okay, then that's your fault. But yeah,
Right.
your defense has to do their job before they get to you. So that's my goalkeeping theory on that. And but like I said, it's sometimes it's also a thankless job because those kids do give up a lot, and it takes a special player to be a goalkeeper. Like when I first started playing, I started as a goalkeeper before I ended up playing up top, and that was my advantage, going, especially when I got into coaching. And so I know how to read defenses and offenses, and just to kind of, when I do my coaching with my goalkeepers, kind of what to look out, what to kind of learn how to measure up as far as things like, hey, what do you see here? What can you do here? Stuff like that. And then just working on technique and so forth. But it's always a thankless job. They always say, well, it's the goalie's fault. He's the one that messed up. He's the one that costs us the game and blah, blah, blah. Just like Karius on the World Champions League against Real Madrid. Right. You do something like that with that. That's different.
And you talk about the position itself has changed massively in the last 5 to 7 years. You're no longer just expected to save shots. You're meant to be able to break lines and passing in very dangerous areas of the field, right? You're meant to stay connected with your defenders to the point where they can press higher up the field, so more opportunities, for your team can happen on goal. And so you run a high risk type of style of play, and everybody wants to implement that. But while there's value there, I think there's also, like, the goalkeepers that I coach still, I tell them, look, save the ones you're supposed to save, right? Don't worry about upper 90 top stance, whatever you want to call it, the highlight reel saves. No, save the ones that you're supposed to save. Be connected, be vocal, communicate, set your players up in a position so they can succeed. And you're going to have a very, very long playing career. But it's a constantly evolving position, and none more so than the goalkeeping position over the past 5 to 7 years.
And then, my biggest thing is you got to have a short memory. Because if, people make mistakes, all over the field.
Exactly.
If you make a mistake early, there's still 80 minutes left in the game to be able to recover and rebound for it here. So I know I tell AJ plays, and you can see where he makes a mistake and he, puts his head down. I'm like, just keep your head up, keep playing. You'll work through it for that here. To transition to the final topic here, you're now an agent. So you made the transition from a playing career to a successful agent here for that here. Can you kind of tell me how that happened here? Because I think a lot of times people, for instance, Diego, is now the goalkeeping coach for DC United. You see a lot go either more the academy, path there, but you don't see a lot of people go to the player rep side to be able to represent them and stay in the game that way. So can you tell me kind of how that process went for you and how that happened?
Of course. Yeah, look, I've wanted to do this, I'd say, for the past 5 years. I think, especially at the USL Championship level, guys are not prepared to make that next step when the time comes to hang them up, right? It's a front-loaded career path in terms of earning potential. So you're not a doctor or a lawyer who's getting started at 30. If you're a field player, you're winding down. Those are the twilight years of your career, if you're lucky enough to have them. And I saw a lot of guys over the year, and I've just observed guys really struggle with finding their footing post-playing career because they put so much, and I'm not faulting them, but you have to be so singularly focused on the endeavor of making it as a professional, and not just making it, but staying there, right? So it's a 24/7, 365 job. We don't really have time to think about, okay, well, what's my next step? Well, with me, I loved being a professional soccer player, but I knew it was coming to an end, right? And it didn't affect my preparation. It didn't affect, how I interacted with my teammates. I love the team environment, but and I think this kind of differentiates me from others, is that going into coaching, while I enjoy it and I coach at the youth level, coaching in the professional level is so volatile. I don't want to be in business for myself and obviously represent players and have players trust me. So I work for them, but I want my effort to really dictate my own personal success. You can say you're a goalkeeper coach, right? You can have your goalkeeper have 10 shutouts, right? In a year, but one coaching change and you're gone. I'm not interested in that right now at this point in my life. I'm not interested in that volatility. So for me, seeing those players kind of unsure of what they want to do post-playing career, on top of the fact of getting involved with the USL Players Association back in 2018, really kind of ignited the fire of interest in helping, in being able to be an extension of the player off the field, and to be able to give advice based off of experience. So that's my approach, is that my value to a player is not just, hey, I'm going to get you a contract and it's going to be more money than it was last year and you can thank me. No, it's, hey, the contract is very, in my opinion, and how I operate, it's a very small portion. I tell all of my clients, I am here with you through the good and through the bad, right? If things are going great, I'm here to be your best, your number one cheerleader. And if things aren't going so great, pick up the phone, call me. If you're going through something, it's probably something I've gone through. And I want to be of service to people, and I want to see young people succeed. And I want, through the connections that I've made throughout the years, to maybe open a door for a player and be able to experience, a goal achievement that maybe, I'm not saying I hold the key here, but maybe I can play a small role in their success. So for me, it was a natural transition. And one that I'm going to keep at the end of year one. I still got a couple more to finish up, but I'm closing in on 30 players that I represent, both on the men's and the women's side. I want to take this as far as I possibly can.
How does the CBA play in it? I know that's something that came in that you had a part with it. How does that kind of play in, and how does that improve playing conditions for especially when you started playing till now, especially at the D2 and D3 USL League One, NISA? Well, NISA doesn't have one, but I think USL League One is rumors are that they're gonna try to mirror what the championship put in. And then I also think with the Super League, there's also talks on the women's side that they're going to try to copy with what the USL champion did with the USLPA as well.
Yeah, so I'll be very frank. I really, really have a bad taste in my mouth from the years where clubs would take advantage of young people's willingness to bet on themselves. And what I mean by that is $0 contracts. It was clubs that would take on these players that there was little to no risk and only reward. And I feel if you are, if you are spending your energy, if you are chasing a goal, if you are, trying to make it, then with a specialized skill, then there's a compensation factor that needs to be associated with that. The league itself, in my opinion, cannot promote themselves as the world's fastest growing Division II league without the other side of it. And the other side being paying a decent wage, a living wage for young people. Now, I'm not saying they have to back up the Brinks truck, right? But, contract standardization to where guys aren't having to go work at a second job when they get done training, and then be scolded on the weekend if they make a mistake in a match. I just think those things cannot coexist, right? If America wants to be, this great footballing nation, which we can, then there has to be a financial investment in the players, right? And now I think what has happened very quickly, not I think, I know what has happened is, and you guys are a perfect example of this with Gallegos and with who was the young player a couple seasons ago?
Christian Pirano.
Toronto.
Yeah,
But then you
right?
had Gomez from Louisville City that moved over, and a couple
Right.
from Orange County. Yeah.
Yep.
So very quickly, Division II USL Championship soccer, in my opinion, has gone from these markets being like, oh, isn't this great? Oh, shucks kind of mentality. We have a soccer team to, oh, no, this is a legitimate way of making money. The problem is, and I feel very strongly about this, the problem is people that are in the front offices of these clubs don't understand the business that they're in. There's good ones. I think San Antonio, I think they've gotten better, but there are a lot of front offices where it's still in that mindset of, oh, shucks, isn't this awesome? We have a local soccer team. No, that's great back in 2014. But fast forward, right? Get with the times, evolve, and realize that you can develop a player and then sell that talent on for hundreds of thousands of dollars that could potentially fund your half of your starting 11 for the calendar year. Like, that's where we're at right now.
Right.
I think with the CBA, I think why that's valuable is you're going to get a better product because these teams have to do their homework on who they're bringing in. They can no longer just say, oh, yeah, we'll bring in somebody and we'll give them $50 a month. It's not going to cost us anything, but if he lights the world on fire, then we can promote the heck out of him that he's one of ours and we identified this talent. No, if you are going to win, if you're going to be successful in this league, you have to recruit well. You have to get guys that you're going to get buy-in from them, because that you're going to have the ups and the downs of a season like you always do. And you're going to get, in my opinion, a better product for it.
I 100% agree with you. I'm going to try to cover 3 points. Let's see if I remember them. Number one, I'm a really big fan. I don't know if you're a hockey fan at all. I'm a big fan of the Steve Dangle podcast network. They have one of their shows is called Agent Provocateur, and basically they interview a hockey agent. And it's fascinating. And one of the big things that they really hammer on, and something that I used to, in a past life when I was in college, I used to sell sporting goods, and I would sell a lot of custom stuff to professional agents. And I would talk to those agents, and most of the agents I talked to, they came into prominence because they had a lot of connections in Puerto Rico or the Dominican or Venezuela. And they would bring these kids and they would represent them. And the kids, shell shocked. It's a big culture shock to come from those places where, and there's a real famous movie. Well, I like the movie. It's called, I think it's called Sugar or Azúcar. Obviously they mean the same thing, but it's basically about a kid that came from the Dominican Republic that does not know one word of English, and they throw him in the middle of Iowa and tell him, figure it out. You're here to play baseball. And that's why agents that's why agents are so important. And these, they guide these people through, like you said, these ups and downs that they're going to go through in a career. Oh yeah, you had a bad game. It happens all of us, and that's why agents are very important. And like you said, it's not just a numbers game. It's not, you're not there just to be an arbiter. You're there to support these kids, and having 3 players that's a heck of a portfolio that you're supporting in that.
Thank you. One thing to note is, especially when it comes to these negotiations, the experiences that I've had over the past winter transfer window period, whatever you want to call it, most have been pretty, I won't say cut and dry, but like any negotiation, it's okay, you can't do this, but can you do this? And for the most part, people are pretty easy to work with. There's some outliers where it's like, it's not a negotiation, even though they say it is. I start asking questions. Hey, can we? What about bringing his goal bonus up $50? Oh no, we can't do it. What about the assists? Can we bring the assists up a little bit? No, we can't do that. Okay, well then it's not a negotiation, right? So don't tell me that's a negotiation.
Exactly.
That is where the from the contractual side, that's where there's value, because I can be that buffer. Most, and I'm not faulting any player, nobody wants to be in that situation when they're negotiating. Sometimes their coach is also the technical director who's responsible for this. So you don't want the player, and very few people feel comfortable genuinely trying to ask for what they want. I have no problem doing that. And I'll do it in a way where it's respectful. I'm not going to go in there all guns blazing, right? Slam down on the table and say, it's this way or my way or the highway.
Hollywood lawyer type.
Yeah, no, that's that. No, because ultimately that affects repeat business, right? I want to keep my relationship strong, good. And look, yeah, there's some people I wouldn't go have a beer with, but like I said, there's most people are reasonable people. And you know what? They understand that, hey, $200 extra at the USL, let's say League One level, makes all the difference. Makes all the difference, man. And I say this genuinely, that is the difference sometimes between a guy buying groceries and buying an extra pair of boots for the season. That is, I know that sounds fabricated or, no, that's the truth. That's the truth.
Not at all. I've had friends that played in various minor league systems, Washington National system, the Detroit Tigers system, the Los Angeles Angels system. And it's insane now. And obviously this is going to be a big sore topic for me right now, because there is the labor versus the ownership negotiations with MLB, and they're locked out right now. And I'm angry about it, but a big thing that the owners have been getting away with for years is not having to pay these kids housing, and these kids they don't even make minimum wage. They are so far below the poverty line that they have to have a second job in the off season. And even those jobs, they barely get over the poverty line there. And like you said, they're betting on themselves. They're betting that their talent will see that. And it doesn't happen a lot, unfortunately.
Didn't they try to argue that like preseason experience, like they're being paid an experience?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's it. Minor leaguers have almost never been paid for spring training. They've almost never been paid for spring training. That's not, whenever you get an invite to camp, it's literally an invite to camp. Hey, come on and try to make the team so you can make that $300,000 minimum game, minimum wage. But that's it. Minor leaguers have never been paid for spring training. Well, they maybe they can put it in a contract, but for the most part, it is not a normal thing. And it's also not a normal thing to get their housing paid for, which ironically in this offseason, the owners announced, we'll pay for all minor leaguers housing, which typically minor league players will stay in a hotel. They'll stay in like an extended stay, Kenwood Suites or whatever. But
and what is it to them? What is it to the owners? And what does that mean to the players? Right? Think about that. That's that's peanuts when it comes to a concession.
You know what it is? As simple as it is, it's the owner getting on the phone to his marketing agent and telling him, hey, go in the outfield and put a giant Holiday Inn sign in the outfield, and boom, we just pay for all of that's as simple as it is. It's real estate. It's not even money. And they're still reluctant to do it. And that's how nickel and dime these owners are. Don't get me started there. It's so bad at that. Let's transition slightly to more of the the CBA being a really good thing for the league. I think it's a massive thing for the league, because it's not just going to be seen from, and this is going to be from an international stance. I know it's a big thing for international leagues to look at MLS and to look at USL and to just start, that kid's fast. Let's pick this guy for, peanuts, rather than going to Mexico and or going to Brazil and automatically a kid's Brazilian. That is a 7-figure deal right there automatically. But because he's in the US, you can get him for
Fractions.
5-6 figures. Exactly, but the CBA and USL I think is going to legitimatize whatever. It's late. It's going to legitimize the league for international players to come to the US to play, because
Correct.
they're going to see, holy crap,
Yep.
they have to provide healthcare for you. Holy crap, they have to pay housing for you. Holy crap, they have to pay meals for you, and they have to pay you a minimum salary on top of that. Sign me the hell up for that. And like you said, it's not the $0 contracts anymore. It's not, unfortunately, he was not under a $0 contract. I'm confident he was compensated very well. But Christian Prano, when he came over, he was basically kicked out of every possible league in Argentina because nobody wanted to bet on this kid. He comes to San Antonio and freaking lights it up. And right now he's in the Greek league, lighting it up. So
it's
crazy.
I think what's important too, because there still is not a there's no purse for winning the championship, which I believe should change.
Yes,
that's like a case study almost of, okay, do we hold on to him? Do we think that we can recoup the money in ticket sales for, let's say, half of the season, or should we try to sell him now and receive any sort of transfer fee? So that's a cost benefit analysis that clubs have to do too. But that's what I'm talking about in terms of understanding the business that you're in, right? And saying, wait a minute, is the juice worth the squeeze? Yes, he's a wonderful player. Yes, he's the metronome, as I say. He makes our team tick. But what's the, let's weigh this out here. Exactly. There's no purse for winning the championship. So do we roll the dice and keep this guy here, or do we try to sell him, right, and make X amount of dollars? I don't know what the figure was or would have been. That's what I'm talking about. You're kind of going into USL Championship 2 or 3 or 4.0, whichever one it is. So, that's good. I think that's a really, really good thing. The other thing that I think is important that we're going to see more of this year is you're not going to have a lot of USL Championship teams have had the luxury of utilizing MLS loans.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not going to see that at the
San Antonio.
Rate. Yeah, you're not going to see it at the same rate because of the MLS Next, right? And I think it's wonderful that more and more players, like conservatively speaking, in one off season, 200 plus jobs opened up, right, with the implementation of the MLS Next Pro. And I don't think it's a coincidence that they're offering USL Championship money to players, which they are, right? So competent players have not expanded at the same rate as opportunity. So it's really going to be important for these staffs to get it right with the player recruitment, who they bring in, and maybe that means more opportunities for guys that may have been passed over. But I think the more competition, the better. So we'll see. It's going to be a very, very, very unique year.
I think for me, because probably 3 years ago, Scott and I did a podcast, and we had a SAFC player that was retired, or he's retired now. But we were talking about so SAFC, I think, has a reputation of paying fairly well or above average. We'll say that.
Right.
But there are other teams in the league that, he mentioned that there were good players. He mentioned Reno, and I'll mention Reno because they're no longer in the league now. Yeah. That would have incentivized contracts only. So no, you're not getting anything for that here. If you don't play, you're not getting nothing. But of course, you're still doing it. So I think the biggest advantage that I see is that it's gonna bring consistency between, at least at the minimum level, for every team in, hopefully all of USL, above USL League 2, to where, hey, if you are going to play in this league, no matter which team you go to, this is the minimum that you can expect. And if you go to Phoenix, or you go to Tampa, if you go to San Antonio, Louisville, the perks may be a little bit better just because, their budget may be bigger than other teams along those lines. So to me, that's the biggest benefit for the league itself, is they're creating, hey, if you come play in our league, this is the minimum that you can expect. And I think as a player, maybe you can speak on this. That's a huge relief.
A quick one about Reno: they were paying their guys bonuses in chips, in poker chips.
I heard that in Vegas too, as well.
In Vegas too, yeah.
Oh my God! I thought you were gonna say gum.
No.
I want to get paid in gum. Oh
No. The Vegas one, the Vegas one that a couple years ago, that pissed a lot of people off, players wise, because they did a halftime thing where they did the cash drop out of the helicopter.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you got guys on $0 contracts. Like take whatever that was financially. It was $5,000. Put that back into the, go take care of
plus
meals.
Plus the operating costs of the helicopter. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And the fine I think you had to pay because you flew it too low. What a jackass. I'm sorry, but that's like, you got guys busting their butt to make a name for themselves on $0 contracts. And then you got that. It's like, I get that you're Vegas. I get that you're trying to live up to this concept, if you will, but it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing.
But Vegas didn't need it. They drew well.
Correct.
That was the thing that frustrates, and it still frustrates me with Vegas.
Yes.
Is even though LAFC's took over the player movement, the fans still turn out. They are still they draw better than RGV as an example.
Right.
It's
right.
And I understand MLS is moving in there now, so and the writing's been on the wall for that.
Right.
But to me, it's I'm nowhere in your position, but it's one of the things that frustrates me is Vegas could have been like New Mexico, could have been like Phoenix, could have been one of those earmarks. They had Cashman Field, which was all going to be theirs. They could have done what Tampa did, with Al Lang, make it a proper soccer facility as much as you can, in a baseball facility. But they could have done it, and for whatever reason, they chose not to.
Yeah. What was the second part of the question before I was talking about the Reno portion?
Mine was just more about the consistency from, where if you go from RGV to San Antonio to through there here, how to me, and I know Royce kind of touched on it, for international players, but to me, even, for local players along those lines, to be able to go from one club to another club and have that level of consistency on a league-wide side, I think is a huge plus.
Yeah, rules and regulations are important, and a standard of doing things is it should be paramount. If you want anything to succeed, you can't have these. Use Tampa for example, Tampa or Phoenix, right? And then you go to Loudoun United, if you will, right? It's apples to oranges, right? You can't compare the two, even though you're in the same league. You're not in the same league.
Well, Tulsa is an example prior to the new ownership. Tulsa is a prime example where they had a great name, and now with new ownership, they've done the rebrand. From everything that I've heard, in speaking with friends up in Tulsa, they're doing things the right way,
right?
For that here. And I know we want to get you out here because we've had you almost for an hour, and I do want to touch base on what's going on in Oklahoma City before we get too far for that here. But to me, Tulsa's a prime example of, if you get an ownership that is committed to the game and not just, hey, it's a date to fill the park up.
Correct.
Along those lines.
No, you're spot on. And I think most clubs are moving in that direction, and you're going to have, look, where I'm sitting right now, my house, Oklahoma City, it's a perfect example of attrition, right? You have teams that come, teams that go. Do they come back? I'm not optimistic. I'll be honest with you.
I talked to quite a few, the Soccer Chef as example.
Yes. Colin, person.
Colin, he's very hesitant to say, hey, they're coming back here.
I think if you're, really genuinely talking about, okay, we're going on hiatus for a year. Look, I experienced it three times in my career, Austin being the most recent. There's no plan in place. I think they have one or two employees, and if anything, the season starts this week, or next week, I should say, or no, this week. Yeah, this week.
No, it's coming this
right. So why don't you have your technical staff on the road scouting? Why don't you have a plan in place? They don't. They don't. So don't tell me, and don't tell the fans that pay their hard-earned money to come watch and come support. Don't you know what in my pocket and tell me it's raining. You know,
Right.
It's kind of like, come on, you know, writing to me. Look, could they pull a rabbit out their hat? Maybe. But again, I'm a pretty optimistic person by nature. Not optimistic that they're going to be coming back next season.
The reason why I don't think they are is if they really wanted to be playing, they could have found a alternative place.
Exactly. They did not exhaust all other opportunities, right? Look, OU is right down the road. OU's women's field is one of the nicest fields I've ever played on. Proper width, proper length, great surface. It makes all the sense in the world.
Not the turf that you love.
Oh my gosh.
Not
That's the other thing. It's like
not
to me, they could have identified this problem the last game of the regular season. They could have gotten. I mean, they're using the reasoning is it's structurally unsafe. Okay, you've now had 4 months, 5 months to get it done. It could have been done.
Yeah, there's
so just be honest. Just be honest.
It was a similar thing with, I mean, Birmingham as an example. They lost their turf, and by lost their turf, I mean it died. And so they had to switch fields, and they were able to coordinate a field switch halfway through last season. So, and they only missed one match. And you're telling me Birmingham had a week to do that,
right?
Maybe 2 weeks at the most to do that, and you can't. You have 5 months to do that. You can't. It's unfortunate. And I do know Austin Bold as well. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, sorry for interrupting, but just New Mexico and Sporting Kansas City 2 years ago, they played their home match. They played all matches on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it could be done. Look, you could have gone up. You could have said, okay, listen, we're not going to host any home games, but I tell you what, we're going to play Tulsa 4 times this year. 4 times. We're gonna have a bus in OKC. You know, with paid admission, free drinks, we're taking care of you. We want to keep this alive, right? We want to keep the diehard support here and alive. That way we can roll into 2023 like we never and not skip a beat, right? There could have been solutions.
Or play your games in Tulsa. Yeah, play your games in Tulsa. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
And I will say this. I think the reason why they're taking time off now is because Oklahoma City did pass a multi-purpose stadium. I think, and this is me, I think that they're going to wait till that gets ready to open up before they come back personally. But James, before we let you go here, Cody here, James does ask a pretty good question here. Does minimum salaries limit players making more money if owners agree to keep salaries low?
So there's no salary cap.
Yeah, there's not.
You know, there's no salary cap. So yeah, even the Roots found some terms. Exactly. No, that's a good question. It's I've not experienced that. I think if you have a personal example here, I represent a gentleman by the name of Greg Hurst, and I'm not going to get into contract specifics, but
starting forward most likely for Phoenix Rising this year. So preseason turns out.
Yeah, he's done very well and you want to talk about the humility side of it, you know, and there's somebody who is switched on here. He's done quite well for himself over the past 2 seasons at League One, and he makes the jump to Phoenix. Phoenix, they offered him a very competitive wage, a very, very competitive wage, and not even close to minimum salary. So I've not experienced. I think top talent will get rewarded. I think guys who maybe historically in their career, maybe they're injury prone, or maybe they can't make it a whole season. You know, maybe they lose a little bit of leverage in terms of negotiating, or maybe if they're out of contract, right? Maybe they lose a little leverage. But I have not experienced any teams. Now, don't get me wrong; they're not backing up the Brinks truck to you and giving you $1 million, right? But the wages are going up. The wages are going up because they see, like, Phoenix. You guys are a great example too. You have a sellout crowd because it's a cool environment to be in. The team is competitive. you have goal scorers, right? Proven goal scorers historically.
Mhm.
And there is massive economic, there's benefit to it. Nobody wants to go support a loser, right? So you guys spend your hard-earned money to support the team, to buy the merchandise, right? To have coverage like this that we're doing, that we're currently on. It makes sense. It makes sense to invest. It makes sense to invest, and it's not an investment that you're going to get a automatic return on, right? But if you have a goal, a long-term goal, then you can steadily build day after day, good day on top of good day, just like as a player. And then you have a ticket that's hard to come by. And then you get that, and it's like, oh man, we're loving it. But it's because you have a plan in place, and it's a long-term thought. It's not just let's go day by day. No, it's let's expand on this.
So I do want to get to San Antonio FC here. But Rafa, and I hate cutting the conversation short here, but we are at about an hour here. So Rafa, any final questions, and then go to Royce, for final questions.
Just ask Cody, for a young player, 18, 19, would you recommend going through USL or MLS to get to Europe? Kind of the case of scenario like Jose Gallegos.
Yeah.
What would be the easier track for a player that has those aspirations?
Yeah, Ralph, that's a great question, dude. Because here's the thing. On field, you see it. I'm seeing it a lot more, as anybody with eyes can see this, right? There's talent. There's massive talent on the field. What I worry about is, are you emotionally intelligent enough to experience what you're going to experience abroad? Mm-hmm. It's not, and this is speaking from experience. It's lonely, and you only see the highlight reel. Right? You only see the highlight reel of, wow, I scored a goal on the weekend, or wow, I had an assist. Look, Weston McKennie is a perfect example right now. He's going to be out for an extended period of time. He's going to go through some lonely days, and you're thousands of miles away from your loved ones. I'm sure you're missing birthdays, you're missing holidays, right? And now it's a little easier when he's playing at Juve, right? And he's taking care of the best, but
I was going to say he was at the LA Lakers game the other day. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But you're saying that younger kids, like you're saying the younger kids, exact, and it's definitely, I completely agree with you. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I completely agree with you. I'm 34. I could not imagine going to Europe by myself, having a bit of a language barrier, and being hurt and being hungry and wanting to go get a meal in town and not knowing how to ask for it.
Correct. And that's what you got to understand with young people as well. And that's what I explained to them. I said, look, you're not, and this is not to dash anybody's dreams or hopes here. I want to be supportive, but you also have to be honest and understand what you're getting yourself into. So that's where I think like a USL landing spot or an MLS Next landing spot where, okay, maybe you're not living at home, or maybe you're going away from home for an extended period of time for the first time, but you're, let's say, 100 miles away from home rather than a couple thousand miles away from home in a different time zone and all these things, right? I just think this trajectory for players, they want it and they want it now, and they don't really understand. They don't grasp the total opportunity and the total, experience, if you will.
Royce, your final question?
Yeah, we're talking about that whole thing, kind of the path to Europe, and obviously kids playing and how they go. I do know that SAFC, man, a lot of their academy kids, I think the only academy kid there's two academy kids that are still playing professional from their top year, and that's Gallegos that went abroad, and one of our backup center backs is also an academy kid, and I'm pretty sure he's going to make the starting day roster. Everybody else is playing college. Everybody else has gone to college. There's been double digits of kids from the player academy to go to college. And like you said, that sets you up for success because you have that 4-year degree, but at the same time, when you get out, you'll be 22. You can still light the world on fire and you can still go abroad. You don't have to go abroad when you're 18. You can go when you're 22 and you can still make a big difference. There's players now that are doing it that are in their 20s. man, Paul Areola is almost in his 30s, and he had his first taste of Europe this past season, as well as Jordan Morris, who never got a shot. Unfortunately, he got hurt abroad in one of his first matches, but at the same time, there is a time limit, but getting your 4-year degree does not that's not that time limit. And
I think
that's
that's the other thing is you can very realistically, even if it's online school, right? You go to training, you're not training 24/7, 365. Now, having said that, you're a pro in the way you handle yourself the 22 hours that you're not on the field, right? That's the reality of it. Training is one thing, right? You got to be focused there, but it's how you spend your time off of it. You can very, very, it's realistic to say I could take online school. I could further my own education while doing this. It's just, I do worry there's a lot of people and a lot of young people that think I'm going to go from point A to point B immediately. It's like, no, that's not, I'm not trying to dash your dreams here. That's not reality. That's not reality. So.
And I do know, I mean, you say that, I know one of the USL programs they have is through, Western New Hampshire University.
Off the top of my head, I can't remember what it is.
Yeah, one of those online, but I know Mikey Lopez just got his, I think he got his bachelor's or his master's through there.
His bachelor's degree,
you can do it, man. You can do it because, again, front-loaded career path. You're going to be a person much longer than you're a professional player.
100%.
Actually,
that's a good tagline. That's a great tagline. You're going to be a person longer than you're going to be a player. Set yourself up for success. I love that. That's great.
Like Club America did that. Speaking with Guillermo Naranjo, who was the academy director when I was with the academy coaching here, he mentioned during his playing days before they got to the first team, playing with the Fuerzas Básicas, they were doing online classes just in case if they didn't make the first team or get signed by another first team, they already have a degree, nice. To move on, to the next chapter of their life.
Yeah, you're talking about the 1%.
A good thing to do that to help those players.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Cody, like I said here, thank you for your time. Like I said here, I know Sunday evenings, with you and your family, taking the time out for our show, much appreciated. Like I said here, whenever I saw you at the stadium, like I said, I know you signed my OKC Energy scarf a couple of, many years ago. But you were always cool to us, and like I said here, the banter was always fun going back and forth between you and like I said here, as Robert mentioned, Robert's, I guess, apologizing for you. I think Cody. Sorry.
Hey, no need to apologize, man. No need.
Although you did beat RGV in their first playoff year, so like I said here, I was very excited about that.
Thanks.
But thank you so much for coming on. Like I said here, it's always a pleasure. And Jenny Check, which I'm sure you know as well, so take care, Cody. And then I know. Retro Sports also said that they're the greatest keeper OKC ever had, and thanks for the memory.
Thank you for that
here. But do want to appreciate you, for coming on. It's very much appreciated. And like I said, anytime we can help you out, getting any messages out, please reach out to us, especially if it's to concerning San Antonio, which is what we do. But even if it's just USL or soccer in general, for that.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you for the opportunity, and I really, really enjoyed it. And I'll be supporting you guys this year.
Can't support Tulsa.
That's right.
All right. Thank you, Cody.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. That was Cody Laurendi. Like I said here, to me, one of the greats of USL. And like I said here, going back to NASL years, where he was on the bench for the first Scorpions game for us old timers back in 2012 for that here. So, as I mentioned here, much appreciation to that. Royce, I saw that you got kicked out of the tactical board. If you can refresh that for that here.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna do that again. Okay, fair enough. And also, I noticed this way too late, but Rafa and I are twinning right now. So good job. Way to go.
I noticed that as well. So, like I said here, for a couple of things coming up. Number one, it's finally here, a game week by San Antonio FC. they had a friendly on Saturday, if you'd call it.
I'd call it that. Oh.
I thought it was more the academy team
I think we lost Rob.
playing El Paso, which
Yeah, that's what it ended up being. It was the San Antonio FC Academy against El Paso's first team. The result looked it, and it was interesting. My hot take on it is it's a long season. It's going to be a very long season. What are we playing? 34 matches. Yeah, and the physical method of play that the Marcina method. I don't blame Marcina for not really going too hard in the paint in the preseason. I know
especially after what happened last year with RGB.
Exactly. That's what I was
Maloney came on, and then he missed the first quarter of the season, third of the season.
Oh, half, at least half. He didn't get on until like August, man. It was a while. He had a bad injury. I know PC left the match early, and then that probably contributed to him being out for a couple months during the season, which really hurt us. There was a lot of injuries that started from that preseason. So I think this preseason, just taking it easy. Just, hey, most of the players are returning, so we have that luxury. And like I've told you and Rafa, the two most important players, the two most intricate players that have the most to do are PC and Mo, and they're both returning. Everybody else is kind of, it's pretty straightforward. As a center back, their method of play where one goes. Yes, that's a little difficult, but not too hard to sort out. The fullbacks are just going to be running up and down the whole time. That's not too hard. They're going to be involved in the offense a lot. The two most dynamic players are going to be PC and Mo. They're going to take over for other players. They're going to have that double pivot in the midfield. They're going to be doing a lot. The three forwards are going to be the three forwards. It's going to be the same thing. Hey, here's the ball. Go score. I don't know how crazy their tactical instructions are going to be, but I think, like I said, the two most important are going to be returning players. They know the system. I think that's fine. I think we'll be good with that. And also in the season, it's not really how you start, it's how you end. And
you say that, but
you can definitely, you can really shoot yourself in the foot in the beginning of the season. Don't get me wrong. You can't qualify for the playoffs in the beginning of the season.
No, but if you look at because there's only 1-2 team this year in the West, and that's Los Dos. If you look at the list of quality teams, it's more than 7. I think it runs probably 10, 9,
but
10.
I don't even think it's a competition thing. I think it's just a normal thing. If you lose the first 3 matches in a row, okay, you got to make it up. If you lose the last 3, okay, you might be screwed, especially if the last one is your only playoff match. But,
Robert, we're going to get into that about who we think is the starting keepers and stuff here momentarily. I'm waiting for Rafa to reconnect here.
Yep.
I do have an interesting theory here.
Oh no!
And like I said, this is just
Harry's
a 10.
You need to do like a Twilight Zone Harry's theory.
10-foil theory here, because we have 3 starting keepers. Farr, Bonilla, and Matt Cardone. Do you think we keep all 3, or do you think Matt comes back? Let's say he starts the first game and then they sub him off, and that way he gets a proper send out, or you think he's back for the year?
He's back for the year, baby. Prepare yourself for the beard. SAFC has learned their lesson, and this is something that Cody would be happy with. SAFC learned their lesson last season. They really went by the seat of their pants in the goalkeeping position, because it was Cardone, who luckily he did end up getting hurt, but luckily it was the last game of the season. It was Cody and it was Carlos, or it was Matt and Carlos. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it was, man. That is not a good way to go into a season. That's, in retrospect, that was fast and loose and not great. But this season, like I said, I think they've learned a lot from that. They saw that Jordan Farr was A, a free agent, and B, a fan favorite quickly. That's a no-brain signing right there. They had probably already sent out feelers to Christian Bonilla's people, to his representatives, because they really wanted a keeper that is more apt at playing with his feet. That'll be interesting to see, and that'll be interesting to see him, like Cody was saying earlier, him break the lines, kind of like a Manny Neuer type. So that'll be fun to see, especially with how fast Shannon Gomez and as fast as Didi Traore are. He's going to be looking to give them service so they can go up and they can go have an effect immediately and have a quick counter that we can take advantage of. So that's exciting to see. But no, the Matt Cardoni experience is still here for 2022. Jump on the train, come aboard. We got 3 goalkeepers, 3 very good top goalkeepers in the league. Yeah, it's going to be.
I wonder if they're using him also more in the academy side as well, just because he is a little bit older along those lines here.
Maybe.
For that here. And like I said, if you'll click on it here. So this is the lineup that Rafa sent out to me here.
Real quick. Let me interrupt and be a jerk. You talked about academy. I'm going to, before I forget the point, did you see that academy goalkeeper that SAFC has?
Yes, he's a beast.
Giant. Holy crap. Yeah, maybe that's the dude that Cardoni is. I don't know how he'll fit there, but take him under his wing.
The dude was taller than him, and
everybody
he was thicker. He was thicker, and he wasn't big like me, right, but he was a big kid.
He's stout. He's stout and he's tall. Yeah,
he's all muscles here. So this is Rafa's starting lineup here. Bonilla, Fabian Garcia, Tanner, Carter Manley, Didi Torre, PC, Abu Maloney, which I think is a little bit of surprise. Beckford, pardon me. David Lorera and Patino. So, Rafa, explain your lineup here. Because I think from the midfield back, I think everybody's pretty much in agreement, with the exception of possibly your fullback here for that here. And
Maloney's been there a while. He has that chemistry with some of the, like I said, some of the returning players there in the midfield. So it makes sense in him starting, but you probably maybe go like a half or 60 minutes, and then you bring in your other wingers in, and also he'll probably there may be some games that he maybe sit up. We know that we probably have an advantage over those teams, and I think they'll bring him in for the real tough ones that we know that we're gonna need his experience to get us over the hump. So that's why I have him starting there, but. Like I said, he's interchangeable too, so he can also play in the back as well because he's that much, of a great, kind of like a switchblade of a player. So, and then up front, I put speed up front because those guys are ball sharks, and I think that's going to help Patino get some double-digit goals. I think even more from last year. Especially with Beckford. Beckford, I think, if he can do what he did for Haji Berry, Patino's gonna, do well, and also not get double teamed, because that's the key thing is as long as we don't get Patino double teamed, and I think Laura's gonna take that spot to Gallegos or Dorado, that kind of that fast player that can dribble through people. It's just those two are gonna bring the attention away from Patino. That way, Patino can do what he needs to do up front.
So, and like I said here, this is the Detroit City lineup. I've spoke with Red through 451 podcast here for that here. This is who he anticipates the formation to be. He also mentioned a couple of things kind of in discussion with him. Detroit City is one that doesn't necessarily need possession, and they also play very clean. And I know it's Nisa, so give or take, but they were the best team in Nisa. But they had the fewest yellow cards compared, and where I know Nicholas Murray, if you check out his USL Western Conference preview, He mentioned 94 for our number, which is the number of yellow cards that we had for that here. So to me, it'll be kind of interesting. I think you'll see a couple of familiar names. Pato, for here is a forward that, he mentioned Pato may or may not start here. Maxi Rodriguez, obviously former San Antonio FC. Pato played with St. Mary's. And you'll see their number 7, Billy Forbes, was recently signed as well here. So there is going to be, Maxi's already tweeted that he's coming home, which is awesome to see Maxi. And I don't know if you've followed the growth that he's had for here, but so Royce, this will be kind of the setup that they have set up here. Kind of show me with what you think is going to happen with your lineup here, and how should we attack? Because they run, looks like you're a very similar back five that we do. You're on mute. You're on mute, Rafa or Royce. Still on mute.
There you go.
Oh, there we go. All right.
Royce is back.
Let's see if this it's going to kick me out of the thing. That's what I thought. No, so basically what I'm going to have is I'm going to have Shannon come in here for Maloney. I think they're going to utilize the speed on the wings. I think we're going to be more stout defensively in the middle. I think PC and Abu are just going to sit in front of these three. And you're going to have Taintor and Carter kind of come out a little bit more. And I think you're going to see Shannon and Didi be a little more advanced. I don't think you're going to have Lorea in there just because you're going to have your fullbacks be advanced. I think you're going to have Deshane kind of tuck under. I think you're going to have Patino kind of come up. I guess I should stop at the center line. I think you're going to have Elliott and kind of Patino in this kind of formation. I think you're going to have Beckford kind of more or less tuck underneath them. In possession, he will come out on the wings, and he will play off of Traore and Gomez here. But I think what you're going to see a lot of, and it'll be interesting to see, and there's two things that I'm going to say keep your eye on. You do have Patino, who gets fouled a lot. You have Beckford, who's going to get fouled a lot. He is fast. He is very tricky, and I think he's going to get fouled quite a bit. Same with Shannon, same with Traore. If you have any free kicks, your free kick specialist that's not PC is going to be Fabian. So that'll be. I
think he'll be the free kick taker, right? Even over PC.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. This is going to be your free kick taker, which would be interesting to have a center back in that position. At the same, so that means Fabian is going to be distributing a lot, as well as Bonilla is going to be distributing a lot to the wings. So we're going to be attacking a lot on the wings, and we're going to be defending heavily in the middle. So watch out for that. And that kind of takes away their best players. That takes away Pato. That takes away Hopino. That takes away Maxi, because they're all going to be attacking more or less in the middle here. And that's where we're going to be strongest. We're going to attack out wide, so that's going to force them to come wide. And when it forces them to come wide, you're going to have Beckford come in the middle. PC's going to get a little bit more advanced, and you're going to have Patino come and Collier be more advanced. So at the same time, the formation that I'm showing, we're going to be running that because we are going to want to look. We're going to want to attack more. This Detroit City outfit, just because they are not necessarily the most experienced in the championship level. They're not a top club, say like a Phoenix or whatever. I know a lot of people saying that the Nisa All Stars, but I think you're going to see a lot more attacking lineup from SAFC. If it wasn't, and that may also contribute if we're looking for a late goal. Look for Mo or PC to get subbed out, or Mo or PC to come out to the wing, and Mo to be in the middle, and they'll probably bring in Lorea, and Lorea will tuck underneath. So then you'll have Beckford wide. You'll probably have Mane. I'm already calling these subs. You'll probably have Mane out wide. You'll probably have Beckford out wide. You have Shannon. You may have Traore out wide. Like I said, PC is probably going to be out. You'll have Mo. You'll have Patino in the middle. and you'll have Lorea kind of tucking behind in the Nathan position. So then you'll have that little forward 4 diamond that we're kind of used to, along with the fullbacks coming in if we're chasing a goal. So look for that formation change as well. But that's kind of what I'm guessing we are going to play in for this opening match on Saturday.
And I'll say this on Friday. I'm going to discuss Detroit City with Red from 451 Podcast, and we'll kind of go into more on the Detroit side and kind of their story and background. But in discussing with them, he mentioned Maxi's going to be probably the more attacking for that, more of the box to box, and Brad's more of the defensive. Stay back home here. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how Maxi attacks here. He also mentioned Connor Roots is a player that they'll come through, and then Billy's Billy.
Billy, he'll be on that left side. He'll take over for Francis Atwahene. He'll take over in that spot, and he will obviously attack our spot there. And that's whenever Billy comes in, I think you're going to see Maloney come in. Especially if we have the lead, you're going to have Maloney try to shut him down along with Manley. But what I want to see are who are our backup center backs, because we know
we don't have any.
Well,
we don't have anybody.
Holt. I'm pretty confident Holt's going to make the starting lineup, but other than that, obviously Diouf has some experience as a center back with Austin, so maybe he is kind of a backup center back. We'll see. That'll be interesting to see. I'm expecting 2, 3, maybe 4 player signings this week, and
it's got to be 4 on top of the academy, because they've got 17 with 3 goalkeepers.
So you'll have 4 signings to probably have a total of 21 minus your academy, which will make like your team of 25. Or
you'll have 4
or 25. But I think they need to get.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Rafa.
I would say honestly, they do need to get more defensive players, because I think we're pretty set up top. I think we're set in the midfield. Maybe a backup. Like I said, as far as the wings. So I think we need to have a backup for PC or Abu. I think we do need like a third holding mid, as just to like I said, just to, because PC he gets cards, and we need to get somebody that has some experience that can play alongside with Abu. We can plug him in there, and also remember PC has also had some troubles with injuries too. So that was a factor last year. But I'm glad we got Abu. He kind of stepped that up, but still, we were still hurting there in that essential defensive area. So that's sort of like I said, and then maybe another winger. We could bring another one, but that, like I said, as far as don't count on the academy players to be plugged in. The only time they'll be plugged in is you're going to see them during the Open Cup. But as far as the USL games, these are going to be the ones you're going to see time to time.
Do you think Holt gets signed to a full contract or to an academy contract?
Academy contract. I think he may still be looking at his options going elsewhere, go to college.
I think he's probably still going to be on the academy contract. I don't think he's ready yet. I think he still needs a little bit more season, and then there's no reason to throw him in the fire right now.
Right.
I mean, he needs to, depending on what he can do in the US, like I said, the Open Cup. Maybe we want to plug him in there. And some of the friendlies we'll see, because you also have a Rocky Perez. Yeah. He's another one. I think he was a little bit more ready than him, as far as.
I'm sure Perez went to college though, so
yeah. But like I said, we'll see what they're gonna do there, but they definitely need to bring in at least 3 defenders and probably another holding mid to solidify this team.
Yeah, there's got to be player movement this week. And to be honest with you, it's going to be player movements for both teams, because Detroit City doesn't have a backup goalkeeper yet. I know Cody mentioned, and this might be why we're not seeing player announcements as of yet. I think San Antonio had 4, 5, 6 MLS loans last year for that here. If that's drying up, I think San Antonio does a good job of trying to forecast things, but I think with this being the first year of MLS Next Pro, I don't think people really knew what to kind of expect. And MLS Next Pro is a whole different story. They just came out with their schedule along those lines here just last week. So that might be a little bit, slowed some things down on trying to see, hey, is there going to be player movement? I think there still will be. I don't think it'll be quite to the numbers that it was, because there still are teams that don't have MLS Next Pro team yet. Austin as an example for that here. And I'm not saying Austin FC is going to be sending players to San Antonio by any means, but just using them as an example. But yeah, I would expect a busy week from San Antonio FC for that here. I know Jonathan put a tweet out. I'm going to ask you guys this question here. Excitement for the season. You think it's on par, below, above from past seasons?
I'm a little insulated, obviously, with the family, and I've been super busy, so I haven't really. I do know the crowd was, for as bad as the weather was, the crowd was apparently really impressive for the preseason match. At the same time, my excitement could not be higher.
Right, me too.
But I don't know. But from what I've seen, as far as like I said, as far as the preseason match, like I said, as crappy as the weather was and as big as that crowd was, I think it's pretty high.
Jenny asked, do you think we still get Kamiri?
So I don't know anymore. I was really hoping so. It seemed, as far as, vague social media posts go, it seemed like there was definitely some rumblings, but like Cody Laurendi said earlier in the show, MLS Next is really, taking away a lot of possible signings for USL Championship clubs. So, and obviously he may be looking to stay home more. He may have, that's the free agent thing. And that's why a lot of teams that have players that are trialing for their team in the preseason, that's why they don't list their names, is because a lot of them, yes, they're trying out for a certain team. That doesn't mean they're 100% committed to that team because they're not under contract. They can get a phone call from somebody else and be like, hey, this is the contract, sign it. Yeah. And they're like, yeah, that's more than what I wanted. I'm signing it. Bye. Simple as that. So you never know. But at the same time, it's not looking great, Jenny.
Well, we don't know about that.
We don't know. And it's all speculation. That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
is that it looked awesome because there were some, like I said, vague social media posts, but there haven't been any social media posts related to SAFC by that.
And you mentioned, it seems like that he's still not in the States at this point. It
doesn't
kind of
seem
what
like
it
it, but
seems like.
At the same time, people post, later grams where, oh man, I remember when I hung out with my buddy a week ago, post, and everyone's like, oh, what are you doing there, buddy? You don't have to. You can schedule a post a month from now and to post. So he might be in camp. That's another thing. Media can't be at any of the SAFC practices. Well, media can't be at any USL Championship practices. So shrug. Who knows?
So
I think for the season we're just optimism about this year.
Yeah.
I think can we build off from last year? Even though we did lose some key players, but I think we've done a good enough job to replace those players. I mean, I'm not saying they're gonna duplicate what they did last year, but if they do enough to get us, over that hump to the next, to get us that Western Conference Championship and get us to the final, that'd be great. And the thing is, one of the steps was now we have 3 quality keepers. Tainer back, and we got some good defenders. We added speed, we added more speed. and was kind of, I don't say where it was lacking, but it is, like I said, we got some guys that can really.
We're definitely faster, and that's nothing against Sam, because I think I personally don't think Sam was used to his best, in my opinion. And Sam Gleadle had a goal with Monterey Bay in the friendly against Sacramento this past weekend. Connor's not exactly a speed demon. Now, I love Connor, and like I said here, he's you ain't getting by him.
Right. No,
But
I agree. We definitely upgraded on speed. I mean, Huhutemane is dumb fast. Beckford's dumb fast. Same thing with Gomez. Same thing with Traore. They have increased speed, if anything. And so it seems like they've really transitioned from dribblers and kind of technical players to more physical. Let's get to the end line. Let's make a cross, or let's just beat everybody to the ball. And we'll see how the system works out. And that's why I said we have that back five going, where you have your two mids and the three center backs, and then everybody else full speed ahead, just go and counter on people. I think that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be sitting, we're going to be pressing, and we're going to be countering, and that speed is going to help on the counter. I think that's a big thing they've kind of learned in the last couple seasons, is that the team system is really built for countering. Marcina has always been a press and counter kind of guy.
yes.
If you remember when we won when the Scorpions won the NASL championship, the NASL Cup, they won that by countering. Rafa's goal, his bicycle kick, started with the counter that kind of broke down. Billy Forbes, no, it wasn't Billy. God, I can't think of who beat. It was a midfielder that beat somebody on the left wing, and they crossed it behind Rafa. He got connect on a corner and scored. And then the clinching goal was a Billy Forbes counter from Rafa to Billy Forbes in the middle. That was exactly how it was supposed to work out. There was a breakdown. Rafa intercepted it, passed it straight to Billy. Billy beat everybody, and they won the cup. That's how the Marcina way has. That's how Marcina teams have always played, is that press and counter, and having a guy that when he wins the ball back, that wants to dribble, that kind of gives the other team time to get back and sit back and wait. And it really makes the dribblers' life a little harder. At the same time, if you switch that dribbler out with someone who's just going to sprint with the ball or pass, do a 1-2 and keep going, that's going to be a lot more effective on the counter. So I think maybe they looked at that, and that's kind of where they're transitioning. Robert, as far as Omar Cease, this is exactly who I was talking about, as far as that's why they're called trialists, because they may have gotten a contract somewhere else. I don't know, and we're not at practice, so we really can't tell you. I hope we sign him, because I know he was really good with Austin last season, but every team in the league also knows he was really good with Austin last season, and he's out of contract. So he may have signed somewhere else. Hopefully he signs with us, and he's an announcement this week. So we'll see, man.
So a couple of things here, show-wise here. If you guys want to leave a voicemail after the game, if you go to satxsoccer.net, and if you click on this little blue icon here at the bottom, and this also works on your phone as well. If you click on it, it'll leave a voice message for us. So if you want to interact with the show, give feedback at the start of the shows, we will do that. We are also looking at possibly doing a Sunday morning show kind of recap here, although I don't know if that's been determined 100% yet. So keep on the lookout for that. But with it being a game week, I know it was something that Royce brought up, is that maybe doing a recap show.
We're going to try to do it this Sunday, to where you wake up or after church or whatever everybody does on Sunday, that you will have a game review podcast in your feed that you can listen to while you work off your hangover. Very, very nice, Matt. That's our goal, is to, everybody goes to the game Saturday, you wake up at noon or whatever, you wake up on Sunday recovering, you'll have a podcast ready for you to go to listen. And also right after the match, this is what we want you to do, is right after the match, leave voicemails. So we have them for the Sunday morning show, so we can kind of discuss people's reaction. So that's what we're really looking for is after the match, if you're in the stadium, do it. You know, the final whistle goes, give us a call. Let's what are you, Doc LaPaca now, Gamez, with a gig? So
but to me, it's a great interactive tool. It doesn't even call; it records off the website there, so it's not a phone call. Basically, you click on it, your microphone will kip up.
9 p.m. No, I'm joking.
So yeah, but for that here, but no. So final thoughts. Those are the two things that I wanted to touch base with. Is we're going to be doing a Sunday morning show most Sundays, if possible, depending on families and stuff like that.
Reiterate this. Exactly. I have a toddler. Let me reiterate this. We're going to try to do this. We're going to try to make this thing. It may not work. We're going to try.
We're going to try. Number two, my goal is also to have, later in the week to see if I can reach out to the podcaster or somebody from the opposing team. Not necessarily to talk about San Antonio FC, but to talk about, like this week, we're going to be talking about with Detroit City. I want to talk to Red about, the path for Detroit City to go from the amateur to NISA to now moving to USL Championship. How they're a community-based team, and then of course, his thoughts on it. And to be honest with you, while we were talking this afternoon, we're both like, we have no clue what our lineup's going to be because nobody's been able to see anything. You've seen the tweets saying, "Hey, this is the starting lineups," but who knows how it actually looks on the pitch here. But final thoughts for you, Royce. I know you got to probably get out to tend to some family stuff.
Yeah, I gotta give my kid a bath because he freaking smells. We were like the hour. So, peek behind the curtain on my Sunday. I ran around. I had to fix our bathroom sink there, the drain. Long story. Changed the oil. My kid helped me change the oil. Then we took batting practice off the tee for a couple hours in the garage. So we smell. So we need a shower. I need to clean my kid. Final thought is my thoughts and prayers are with everybody in that awful scene in Querétaro. And at the same time, my thoughts are with everybody in Ukraine right now. It's just, and I mean, you've seen Russian soldiers come out and they've even said what they've been telling us is that Nazis took over Ukraine and we're liberating Ukraine. Yeah, buddy, that's not what happened. And now, they're realizing, that's not what's going on. And we've been lied to. We've been bamboozled. So, man, I just hope that whole situation gets sorted out quickly. It's awful to watch. This is 2022. We should be over war. Like, I know it's a very uniquely human thing to do, but man, we need to be better than this. We definitely need to be better than this. And it also goes for soccer fans, which a key example in Querétaro the other day. We need to be better than that, man. Like, yeah, you can be, support your team. You can be kind of angry at the other team, but at the same time, just keep it between the lines, man. If you have a disagreement with somebody, just have a beer with them. Just chat, talk about it. Half of the disagreements, part of the big epidemic that we're seeing in like road rage incidents is because you don't have to see those people. It's a car. You see the car and you just, people start shooting into the car. There's a person in there, dude. And they may have made a mistake and they will, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. I didn't see you there. Simple. We're all human, man. Just talk to one another. Just understand one another. That's it. Real simple, man. Just talk, understand, come to a compromise, be an adult.
Rafa, your final thoughts on what's on store for Wednesday?
Final thoughts, like I said, prayers just going out to everyone in Querétaro and then also at Ukraine. Final thoughts, crazy weekend over live stream 4 games this past week. Some doozies. Got to see the state champs from the girls' side. Just, I mean, if you're gonna make any bets, they're probably gonna repeat. Just my opinion on that. Great game yesterday between O'Connor and Brennan. That was a good back and forth game, and great win for O'Connor. They took control of the district lead for the girls. This week we'll be going over the standings. There's going to be some changes on the standings, and we're getting close to bracketology. That's coming soon, within a couple of weeks, and hopefully maybe I'll do another game on Friday when I come back from Laredo. I'll be live from Laredo on Wednesday, so I may sneak in at a game on Tuesday to see what's going on in the Laredo soccer scene. Like I said, because that's one of the first round teams that 29-6A would play. And kudos, also thanks to Coach Cano, because we did our first ever co-broadcast of the live stream of the Alamo Heights dripping stream. That was pretty cool. Instead of talking to myself, I had someone. So thank you for him, and make sure to watch the 50/50 podcast, because he'll be having some good things going on there.
So I've got a final thought here. Obviously, Ukraine, what happened in Liga MX, things that, as Royce mentioned, you'd think we're past that. But to me, like I said here, the Katie Meyer passing away, captain of the Stanford women's soccer team, probably a future U.S. women's national team player, who can, Stanford had everything going for her, and unfortunately, took her life. So it's something that we all deal with mental health. Reach out to any of the three of us, or contact, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-8255. Like I said, it's going to be a focus that I keep on this year as well here at the end, just because I do believe mental health is important for all of us, especially for men. I know, men of my generation, 40s and 50s, it was considered weak to admit your feelings and stuff like that. And we're finding out that that's probably not the smartest thing for us here. So when you have young kids like Katie Meyer passing away, it can happen to all of us. So, just keep that in mind. Final thank you to Cody. Like I said here, I know you never played for San Antonio FC, but it is a community. You were always awesome to watch and root against. I will admit I rooted against you, but you were always a class act, on and off the pitch. And like I said here, the few moments you'd take out of your time, out of your warm up to talk with AJ and me, in 114 was awesome. And even to this day, AJ, still a fan a little bit of the energy for that here. So guys, it's been a long one. But like I said here, the hour with Cody, like I said, I think was well worth it. Covered a lot of great topics. We're on to the season. So let's go SAFC. Like I said here, Wednesday, we will have Rafa's Power 15 this week, I believe.
We're going to hold off on that. We're going to stick to the standings.
Standings again? Okay, so we'll redo the standings.
We're gonna because we're close to the end.
Yeah, this week will be the end of the regular season. So we'll go over the standings, maybe kind of preview, the matches to watch out for, who's in, who's out, and then Friday it's going to be, I think, 7:00 our time. I'm going to have Red on, and we're going to talk Detroit City and their road here. So thank you for everybody tuning in. Thank you, Royce. Thank you, Rafa. Thank you, Cody. Hope everybody has a great week, and we'll see you on Wednesday.
Let's go SAFC. Let's go, boys.